The real question is, do you want to feel shit from all the alcohol, or do you want to feel shit from all the dairy? You like my boomerang?
Welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Colin, and next to me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
And as always, you're joined by our producer, Richard.
Oh, hoy hoy.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC comics and movies while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Well, on the ninth day of DocMas, the doctor gave to me 9 Cavill bashings, 8 Alfred's killing, 7 intros singing, 6 dead Collins decaying, 5 Morse's screams, 4 Colin points, 3 Fernet Brancas, 2 bad impressions, and some comic books from DC.
And in news, David F. Sandberg reveals the total number of main actors that the Shazam film will have.
That's not totally true. Basically, and we've talked about it in a previous episode of these 12 episodes of DocMas, they announced the casting of Freddie Freeman, which is that actor from It.
But they also showed that image of all of the question marks photos.
Yeah, they put that image up of all the question mark photos, and they said lots of casting to be announced.
But what I find
that's not main actors, though. There's not 37 or whatever
that's
main actors.
For me, what I'm wondering is, like, does this mean that it's a small cast, or does this mean that it's a big cast?
I think that's probably literally anyone with lines. Like, the number of, like, things.
Does that feel like a small cast, then, to you? Like,
for a big movie like that? Well, no. Anyone with lines, you could just have a cop be like, hey, who's that? Then you'd be on the fucking board, right? Like, there's no way that those are all main characters. There were a lot of question mark pictures, though, so they're going to just be announcing. I think the point is, it was more to be excited that, like, things are moving forward, they're getting the casting done. It's not like you're going to recognize every single one of the people. It's like,
that's right, Superman, Batman, that Flash, it's all in here.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I think people might be reading a little too much into it, but I think the idea was just to get people excited that the casting process is underway, which means you're one step closer to filming, one step closer to the movie.
Is Shazam considered one of the Justice League original members?
No.
Because I always see Justice League, like, if you look at the photos, like, on Google Images and stuff like that, they always include one extra character who seems like it's Shazam.
Shazam was a member of the Justice League for a little bit, but he's not an original. The original are Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter.
Because sometimes they include Shazam in that, so I always find that interesting.
Shazam became a member of the Justice League in the New 52, but he wasn't even an original there.
Wow.
Yeah, so
unbelievable.
The originals there were basically like the movie plus Green Lantern.
Very exciting. Well, regardless, I think we're all very excited. Shazam movie looks like it's good. It's good so far. I like all the announcements.
I'm very excited for it.
The fact that we're getting a Shazam movie, period, is kind of crazy.
It brings, like, a bit more magic into the DCEU. It's a very fun character, and it's an opportunity for a lot of great, like, kid actors to, like, kind of show their chops. I love that. And
I think right now, I think kid actors are having a heyday when you consider, like, Stranger Things, the It movie, like.
Yeah, I guess there's a bit of a trend to that. Yeah,
that's true. I feel like you're having a heyday of, like, kid actors being in very good movies and TV shows, and I feel like I'm ready and raring for, like, a new movie that's going to really focus on that kind of aspect of it.
Yeah,
I like that feeling, that sort of, like, Steven Spielberg, like, Goonies vibe.
It's a little bit of that, but also, like,
it's a resurgence.
What's great about Shazam is that even when he's in the adult form, you're seeing, like, someone who is a kid at heart, right? I
love that.
If there's one thing that's been criticized about the DCEU, it's been about, like, the missing fun or the wonder of superheroes.
Yeah, they haven't done a whole lot of Jack type films.
That's the opposite, if anything. Yeah. Oh no, you're right.
It's exactly what this
Jack.
is. I think this is the exact thing that
Shazam.
I'm Shazam. Oh.
Was that Robin Williams?
Yeah.
That was terrible, Robin Williams.
That was the best I could do.
It sounded like Santa.
Yeah, he did.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho.
So let's go over to Twitter.
Let's do it.
Kyle Clark, yet again, Who would win in a fight, Guy Gardner or Kyle Rayner? Pro tip, the answer is Guy Gardner.
I disagree.
Oh, you disagree with him twice now.
Yeah, get fucked. No.
Yeah. Fuck, this is rad. Dr. DC for life.
Who cares that you've got thousands of people to listen to?
The point is, we got facts. Cold, hard facts. And
Cold
here they are.
hard facts. You know how I am. I'm all cold hard facts.
So they call him Cold Hard Facts, Dr. DC.
No opinions over here. Yeah, I mean, who would win in a fight? Guy Gardner certainly has, I guess, like the violence, the toughness on his side. But Kyle Rayner is objectively, conclusively more powerful than Guy Gardner is.
Snap.
Kyle Rayner has been the host of Ion, which is the entity of will. In the way that Parallax is the fear entity, Ion is the will entity. Kyle has played host to that. Kyle has also mastered every color of the emotional spectrum and is the current White Lantern. So he's already more powerful. He's more adept with every color. Guy has had some different colors. He's been green, blue, and red. And for a brief time, he was green and red at the same time, which is a particularly weird one. But Kyle has complete control over the entire emotional spectrum. Kyle is also, he's like an artist. Part of his, like, what makes him strong as a Green Lantern is he's creative. He can come up with interesting constructs. He's good at creative problem solving, things like that. Guy Gardner's a bit of a blunt instrument. Like, if you were like, hey, what construct are you going to make? You'd be
I'm going to make a hammer.
It'd be like a hammer, a baseball bat. Like,
I'm going to make it go boom.
If you've been listening to these all the way through, you know I don't like Guy Gardner. But, I mean, like, my money's on Kyle Rayner in every way except for just the violence inside them. You know what I mean? Like, I guess if it just comes down to just sheer, like, will not quit this fight, I guess that's Guy Gardner. But just like raw power or talent or anything like that, it's got to be Kyle Rayner. I can't see Guy winning that fight. Guy's also the one that got one punched by Batman.
Oh.
Batman just fucking clocks him. It's amazing. Yeah, I'd say Kyle in terms of that one.
Wow. Well, how do you like that, Kyle?
We're going to jump over to David Rossi. If Colin were to start a podcast trying to get you and Richard into a hobby passion he enjoyed,
I love
what would the podcast be about?
Well, I mean, this is a you question, so you take this one.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't start a podcast. Okay. Like a Dave.
I love how you're like, oh, what an interesting question. I wouldn't. Again, podcast gold.
Well, like, okay, so
that's what Colin's good for.
So here's the thing: is that like, so Dave White asked me once upon a time, like, hey, we should do a podcast about music, and I was like, no one listens to podcasts. I don't want to do that.
No one listens to podcasts.
Well, that's what I thought at the time.
Are all of these fake questions?
Oh no.
I'm Dave Rossi. No, so and I have an 8-year-old apparently. But no,
I'm an 8-year-old.
I didn't really realize that people were still like giving a whole lot of thought to podcasts anymore.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
But apparently they are. Like, there's tons. I've had a great opportunity to listen to a bunch that you guys have suggested on air, off air, whatever. If I were to get you to jump on board with Richard and I about a podcast is something that we'd be into.
Wait, why am I the outsider? I think the idea is that you would start a podcast.
No,
and Richard and I are both outsiders.
Whatever, man.
I don't like being the outsider.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, that's right. To try to get you guys into it.
Why is it just me, man?
Oh man, that's so weird. Probably like reading real books. No one would listen to that.
Woodworking.
Well, maybe. Yeah, like I do woodworking as my job. Also, I quite enjoy it.
Would you consider yourself a carpenter?
I am a carpenter.
Oh my god, and you got long hair. He's Jesus.
No, that's not true. Probably though.
A vintage music podcast?
No.
You seem to have like lots of sort of varied interests. I'd be interested to see like what of them you would pick for a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm also very like aware of the fact that to have a successful podcast, you have to have something that people actually give a shit about listening to.
So I don't know if that's true.
Well, no, let's leave that aside for a sec. Let's just imagine it's strictly about what you're passionate about. What would be your first choice of thing that you'd want to be a podcast.
Because the reality is people will follow anything if people
You'll
are
find
interesting and passionate.
You'll
about
find
something.
your audience. Yeah, exactly.
that's true.
So
I think, you know what, probably like, God, that's a tough one. I genuinely don't know. Dave, I'm going to have to get back to you on that, I think. I don't know. I've never really put a whole lot of thought into it.
Well, you do a live radio show about music.
Well, yeah, but that's just with the old CBC.
that's nothing like podcasting.
Yeah, no,
it's
no.
certainly not talking into a mic.
It's not as important as podcast.
Well, it's very different too, because like it's a different subject every time, and so yeah. That being said, like I don't know, maybe like a Antiques Roadshow type of podcast. I think that'd be kind of neat,
Right, something like vintage. Yeah.
Like obviously, like I'm not going to know everything about stuff that people bring in from the 1930s.
I mean, you're not going to be looking at Ming vases or things either. It'd be like, oh, like that's like a Epiphone from the 60s.
Yeah, I'd like a throwback show is what I would do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's like that one time that this happened.
I kind of dig that.
I'm into that as well.
I would be into that. Yeah, totally.
Sweet. All right, so I guess we're starting a second podcast. That's awesome.
Oh my God. I've got so little time.
And you have even
gonna
less
have
now.
even less, yeah. So we're gonna jump over to Reddit where everything is awesome and no one is awful. Junkstar.
Junkstar.
Great name.
A great 90s band.
Now that I've read Watchmen,
Somebody. Oh no, that's All Stars.
also now that
By
I've
Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
now that I've read Watchmen 5 times, what's the next
Hey,
best
now you're a Junkstar.
stuff by the author and artists?
Right. So Watchmen is written by Alan Moore.
A little bit of Jeff Lemire in there.
No.
And Watchmen occasionally.
No.
Jeff Lemire's done Watchmen, haven't he?
The Watchmen is Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons exclusively.
All right.
Jeff Lemire was probably daydreaming about being a comic book writer. He's probably like 10 when Watchmen came out. Watchmen is Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. Next best things by them. I think in a previous episode of this 12 episodes of DocMas, I talked about For the Man Who Has Everything, which is Superman Annual number 11. It's written by Alan Moore. It's drawn by Dave Gibbons. They work together on it. It's a really beautiful story. It's a single issue. It's a contained story where Mongol uses this plant called the Black Mercy to trap Superman in like a fictional version of his perfect world. And Superman has to break out of it in order to save Batman and Wonder Woman from Mongol. It's a fantastic story, and that's the two of them working together. Separately, I would say Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing is obviously pretty seminal, I think. That's a big one to read. But really, like, the next best thing by Alan Moore is probably something closer to, like, V for Vendetta, or, like, even League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like, those books are incredible. Don't judge the movies, right? Like, they're pretty big deviations from the books. I would say either V for Vendetta or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen for Alan Moore. And then for Dave Gibbons, he did a fair amount of work in the Green Lantern sort of corner of DC, which is pretty interesting stuff. But I personally really love Rann-Thanagar War. If you've listened to this podcast for a long time, you know that I actually really, really dig Infinite Crisis, that whole event and everything that led up to it. And part of that is Rann-Thanagar War. And I think Dave Gibbons' work in that one is particularly good. So I would definitely check that out as well. It does require maybe a little bit of like back knowledge about Adam Strange and the Hawks and sort of the history of the planets Thanagar and Rann. But just from like an art perspective, I think he does a great job in that one. But definitely Superman Annual 11 is a great way to see that team of Moore and Gibbons in a different context. It's a great Superman story. It's really quite something.
All right, the Dr. DC will be back after this quick break.
Perfect.
The Doctors.
The Dr. DC.
This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you thanks to our sponsor, Great Lakes Grooming Co. Honestly, I've been using this product actually for a really, really long time. I, as well, have a very large beard, same as the doctor. I think mine actually might be a little bit bigger.
So my favorite products are, first of all, that beard oil. I've been using it for a really long time. I've actually not had to use cologne because of it. I actually stopped using cologne because it was just, that smell of that beard oil is amazing. I also have a very rough and dry beard usually, so this has been making it super smooth. And then I have to say that my second favorite product is that Noble Selves hair styling cream. That sort of, it's a medium light holding, which is really nice. It's hard to find a good holding cream for your hair. I've used waxes and gels and sprays and all that stuff, and it never really works. This stuff makes my hair look amazing. It holds for multiple days on end for people like me who don't like to shower. It's honestly a great product. So I've been super happy with it so far. I think you guys will be too. Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy and ready to use, rain or shine. All their products are purposely designed and environmentally responsible, handmade in Canada, ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. And lucky for you listeners, you get 10% off on the Great Lakes Grooming's regular price products by going to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and using the promo code DRDC podcast. That's right. www.greatlakesgrooming.com, promo code Dr. DC podcast. Now, back to the show. And we're back.
Let's do it.
So we're going to jump into some emails.
Email. Check.
Sarah asks, "Hi, Doctor. I know Dr. Fate has come up in conversation before.
Dr. Fate.
And a lot of times it's about the Helm of Naboo, which gives him his powers. But OG Dr. Fate also has the Amulet of Anubis and the Cloak of Fate. Do those items give him specific powers anymore, or is the Helm now the only magical artifact he has?"
That's a great question. Yeah, so when Dr. Fate is another character who's been around for a very long time. He showed up in the 40s. I think his first appearance is in an issue of More Fun Comics from like 1940 or 41 or something like that. Dr. Fate, originally, he had 3 magical artifacts that granted him different powers. He had the Helm of Naboo, which was the source of a lot of his magic, the Amulet of Anubis, and he had the Cloak of Fate. I'm pretty sure the Cloak of Fate was specifically his flying power. But over time, that's sort of morphed, so that really the only magical artifact of consequence is the Helm of Naboo. So in that helmet, that metal helmet that he puts on, is the spirit of Naboo, this like ancient wizard, who kind of takes him over and controls him and becomes Dr. Fate when he puts the helmet on. Now, that's all through a series of retcons and things like that. But now what you see is basically just the helmet is the source of the power, and all those other things, the cloak, the amulet, the whole like outfit is like a product of the magic that resides within Naboo and within the helmet. So the short answer to your question is that the Amulet of Anubis and the Cloak of Fate actually don't have that important of a role anymore. It's pretty much all about the Helm of Naboo now. But I think also, by the same token, the level of magic has increased over time. Like the original Dr. Fate, I think you look at him and he like could do some magic. The new Dr. Fate, he's like channeling the magic forces of like the universe. Yeah, I mean, like he's DC's Sorcerer Supreme, if you want to make the comparison to like Doctor Strange over in Marvel, right? So I think that his power level has increased over time and with retcons, and they've also consolidated all of that power into the helmet and into the power of Naboo, the wizard that sort of inhabits it. Did I do okay? Was that it?
Every time I hear Naboo, I just think of Star Wars.
I know. I was every time I said it, I was waiting for like.
It's all I was thinking of.
Chad Buckleman.
Let's do it.
Bongo. Says pick 5 characters as your Justice League. Caveat: you can only choose one of the Trinity, and one of the other characters needs to have magic-based powers. Richard and Colin can play along too, but we won't.
No, you should. I want to start with you guys.
Okay, so I pick Aquaman. Haha, I'm out.
Sure. No, you have to pick 5.
I thought we just had to help.
No.
I thought that was the point. We're a team.
No. We're not collectively picking one. I want to hear what your 5-person Justice League is. You can only pick one of the Trinity, which is Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and one of your characters has to have magic-based powers.
Like who?
You know.
Like Ragman?
Yeah.
So I get Aquaman, Ragman, Wonder Woman, Flash because he's super fast. And
Sure.
cool. And then shit.
You just need one more.
I want Gnort. I know that's stupid, but
You want Gnort?
I want
You want that
Gnort.
Green Lantern?
I do.
Okay. Is there any particular reasoning for like characters like Aquaman or Gnort or the Flash or things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I picked them.
I mean, other than that.
Because they're my picks. The end.
Not other than that?
Wonder Woman's a badass, and I think she's way cooler and tougher than Superman and Batman.
Sure.
Aquaman, I think it's about controlling different levels. So Gnort, I know it seems weird, but space.
Sure. Okay.
Aquaman is water.
Right.
Wonder Woman is both air and land.
Right.
What were my other two?
You had Flash.
Flash is like super quick, also covers land.
Right. And you had Ragman.
Ragman is my favorite superhero. The end.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's like when you're picking a kickball team, you pick your best friend first.
right.
So Ragman.
Yeah.
And then you pick the coolest and best person to me, which is like either Aquaman or Wonder Woman.
I love that you said Aquaman in there.
Yeah, so that's that.
Rock hard.
There you go.
Richard, who's your 5-person Justice League, given these caveats?
Okay. One, Jessica Cruz.
Whoa! New Green Lantern. Oh.
Yeah.
Chad, you're going to love that.
Oh, yeah. Cyclone.
Cyclone. What? Okay, keep going. I'm interested.
Batwoman.
Batwoman. All right. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah. Supergirl.
Right.
And Stargirl.
Love it. All female Justice League.
Oh, yeah. Have they ever done that before? No, I don't think so.
Other than all female, what's the rationale behind some of these picks?
One, I think I like what they're doing with Jessica Cruz lately.
Right.
I think that obviously a female perspective, I think is much needed, and I'm very interested to see what would happen with that.
Marvel kind of had that with A-Force. That was all like female heroes. It was like She-Hulk and like a Black Widow and stuff like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I like Stargirl. She's the current bearer of the Starman legacy.
Yep.
She's a teenager, which is kind of cool. It's a different perspective. And you get a very like sort of like Captain America vibe from her, which I really like.
Well, because she's actually the inheritor of two different legacies. The one of the Star-Spangled Kid and of Starman. She's actually like the inheritor of both mantles, which is kind of interesting.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. I like the idea of Batwoman. I think like you're getting that sort of like military like precision in there.
Right.
I think that's super, super interesting.
Now, sorry. What I will say though is you've picked Jessica Cruz, Cyclone, Batwoman, Supergirl, and Stargirl. What you don't have is a magic-based character.
Just Cyclone doesn't count, I guess, right?
Not really. I don't think Cyclone counts. Correct, like Twitter, correct me if you think I'm wrong. I'm not sure Cyclone counts as magic.
Because, where do those powers really come?
What I was going to say is that Batwoman does have, in terms of the Bat family, she has a history of tangling with the supernatural more than the rest of the Bat family. I was wondering if she was your like deliberate magic pick, even though she herself isn't magic, like that she kind of ends up in that world. Like the whole the Jam DeMatteis arc of Batwoman is very like sort of supernatural inspired. I was
bouncing between her and Power Girl.
Right.
Those are my early options, but I don't know. For me, and then Miss Martian, I want to see an all-female superhero league like that. I think that's something that
I love that
is missing. I think we get it for the villain side, but we don't get it as often for the superheroes.
I love that. I think that's awesome. Yeah. I don't know that I'm gonna have as good of an answer for this. My member of the Trinity that I would pick is Wonder Woman. I think I agree with Colin. I find Wonder Woman more generally compelling than either Batman or Superman. So I would definitely pick her. And her powers are magic based, so maybe I could kill two birds with one stone.
Biggity bam!
Wonder Woman. Martian Manhunter, I think. This character is super like short-lived, like we haven't seen very much of it, but I would love to see more Equinox. Equinox is a First Nations female superhero whose powers are tied to the seasons.
Ooh, I like that.
So depending on what season it is, she has slightly different powers. She was introduced by Jeff Lemire in Justice League United. I would love to see more Equinox. So let's see, like Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Equinox. I love Metamorpho, so I would love to see Metamorpho in there because he's one of those characters. He's like in that Frankenstein sense. He like considers himself a monster, even though he's trying to deal with like, am I the man or the monster kind of thing. And then Green Arrow. I think Green Arrow is good to ground a team like that has a bunch of different powers. You need someone who's very street level, who like remembers the little guy and things like that. So I'd throw Green Arrow. My team, in some ways, 3 of them were on the Justice League United. Green Arrow, Martian Manhunter, and Equinox were all on that team. So I think in a way I'm kind of leaning towards what that sort of feel was. But yeah, I'd throw Wonder Woman in so you have like a big heavy hitter in there. And Metamorpho, because I love that sort of existential crisis that he's kind of in. I think that would be my team. I think mine's probably like a weird one, but I love the all-female idea. And I love actually like the Colin, your blend of them, of like kind of traditional Justice Leaguers and a couple of weird ones, makes me think of like the late 80s, early 90s version of the Justice League.
The reason why I put together the team that I did is because, and in sports, I find that the best team is always the team that you look at and you're like, really? That's going to be your guys.
Sure, right.
Okay, cool. And
you're moneyballing it. You're like trying. You were picking like people for specific purposes, even if.
Well, no, not so much. I'm picking people that work well, that would work well together.
That's kind of Moneyball, though, isn't it?
That wouldn't get in each other's way, and that would...
Looking at the team overall instead of the actual individual people.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all about chemistry, teamwork.
I dig that. If you have your own sort of 5-person Justice League that maybe follows those
send
caveats,
it to us.
Send it to us. Yeah, I'd love to see them. So remember,
# my Justice League.
Yeah. Or yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
# my Justice League. So remember, only one member of the Trinity. One has to be magic based.
That's a fair rule.
So send us your 5-person Justice League if you have one. I'd love to see them.
All right. Well, that's been a fun episode.
Yeah, we did it, guys.
Holy shit.
We're getting there.
It.
So you can send us those Justice League teams on Twitter at
Dr. DC.
Or you can send us fun little comments to our email at
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
Hit us up on Facebook at
Dr. DC Podcast.
Or on Instagram at
Dr. DC Podcast.
Oh, make sure you go to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Those things are important to us. It helps get on the news and the new and noteworthy section. And we'll if you leave a what Colin does, we'll make sure we read that. Make sure Colin reads that actually in the intro.
And if you're KCross202, hit us up on Instagram.
That's right, KCross202 for life.
Dr. DC Podcast.
Don't forget about our website,
drdcpodcast.com and .ca.
Did we get that Gmail in there?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Oh, yes.
We're crushing it.
Well,
crushing it.
Some kind of sign off.
Adios.
Yeah.
Aquaman, all the superheroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.